Okay, guys, we have an update here on the tanker Ego S, the one that cut the cables in Finland. We are now waiting on the verdict from the judge. Here's the story from the Maritime Executive, which was published on September the 12th, 2025. Prosecutors and defense lawyers made their final statements on Friday, September the 12th, in Helsinki District Court, in the trial of the captain and two officers from the product tanker Ego S, on charges that their negligence caused the damage on December the 25th, 2024, of 5 subsea cables running between Finland and Estonia. After broad speculation that it was a case of sabotage, the prosecution centered on the command responsibilities, citing negligence and not pursuing charges on intentional damage to the cables. The captain, first and second officers of the product tanker were charged with aggravated sabotage and aggravated interference with telecommunications as a result of the anchor dragging incident. The trial began on August the 25th, and the court is now scheduled to issue its ruling by October the 3rd. The 3 officers of the vessel has been subject to a travel ban since January of 2025 that did not permit them to leave Finland. Others from the crew that had initially been under investigation were removed from the travel ban. The court, however, today also ruled to lift the travel ban on the captain and 2 officers. Prosecutors had argued it should remain in place until the verdict. The case centered on whether the captain and the officers should have realized that the anchor dropped and was being dragged. Investigators concluded it dropped because of poor maintenance and a broken safety pin on the chain stopper. The defense lawyers countered that the anchor wanless had been serviced and tested, and further it had withstood a violent storm before the ship entered the Gulf of Finland. The prosecution contended that they should have realized there was a problem because the vessel's speed dropped when the anchor began dragging. The defense was that they believed it was an engine problem that caused the speed drop. In their closing remarks, the prosecution contended to the court that no evidence was presented of engine problems. The captain, they said, is responsible for the management and condition of the ship, while the 2 officers were on navigation watch during the time the anchor had dragged 90 kilometers or 55 miles along the seabed and broke 5 cables. The defense said it was the chief engineer who was not on trial who was responsible for the condition of the machinery, including the anchor. Further, they questioned why the Finnish authorities had not informed the vessel sooner that they suspected it was dragging an anchor. There also remains the issue of jurisdiction and whether the vessel voluntarily entered Finnish waters. The defense argues that Finland lacks the authority because the damage occurred in international waters and the ship entered Finnish waters only when commanded to do so by the police. Prosecutors are still asking the court to sentence each of the 3 officers to a minimum of 2.5 years in prison. The Finnish news is saying the leniency of the proposed sentence is because the cables were not intentionally broken and the overall damage was quite minor. The companies reported that it took months to complete the repairs with a cost of approximately 55 million euros or $65 million US. It doesn't seem like that Finland is after the repair costs. $65 million it cost to fix these cables, and that don't include the downtime. It took months, 6 months I think, on one of those cables to get it repaired. And they don't seem to be after that money, which is very surprising in my opinion. Even if this was an accident, and I really don't think it was, but that's just my opinion. Even in an accident, if you break something, you have to pay for it. If they didn't know they dropped their anchor, and they still managed to cut 5 cables, they're still responsible for the repair costs, at very minimum. Do I think these guys deserve jail time? Yeah, they probably do. But why is the company not being charged with the $65 million to get this repair done? That don't make sense to me. Alright guys, there it is as always. Thanks for watching. If you're new here and you like these kind of videos, don't forget to subscribe before you leave, and I'll see you on the next one.